Wilkes-Barre potholes again.
You are opposed, obviously, to the privatization of the state stores.
Well, the legislation that's been proposed, yes, I am opposed.
Okay. You qualify that. I mean, go ahead.
Well,
Next.
yeah, we're looking to make the system better, and if we can, I think we ought to. And I don't think this bill comes close to that, and for many reasons. But first and foremost is we're at the worst recession we've had since the Great Depression. We have thousands and thousands of people out of work. What this bill does is put an additional 5,000 people out of work. And make no mistake, they're out of work. They're not going to go to work for Walmart or any place else. So their salaries are paid for by people who buy liquor. They not become millionaires, but they have health care and pensions. And I don't see at this point, particularly at this point in time in our history, to suggest it's a good idea to lay off 5,000 more workers. The money that they've can achieve from the sale of these stores has gone from $4 billion, has been significantly reduced. They don't have a number. They don't know what they're going to bring in sales. The state of Virginia looked at it, and when they went trying to sell theirs, they realized that they could not raise the money that they would want to or need to be worth it for them. Just abandoned the idea. When we have issues that are pressing, like Marcellus Shale, like education, like transportation, I don't believe this should be a priority at all, because right now I don't know that it's a solution in search of a problem. If we can improve the state store system, I'm for it, and I'll look for ways to do that and help them do that. But right now, to dismantle this system with, I don't believe with revenue that's been verified, the numbers been verified whatsoever, and a benefit to
Your 5,000 figure.
use that number. Those are state store employees, probably, and working with conjunction with the union, they come up. Those are the number of employees that the LCB would employ.
Well, in theory, wouldn't they be at the top of the list, perhaps, to work in the privatized?
Well, the legislation say they should be looked at. They may. We really hope you do. And that doesn't work. Either you shall, and let's face it, those big box stores don't pay people benefits and health care and pensions. They don't pay them. I mean, they're not getting rich, but if the average salary is like $30,000 a year, that's not going to happen. They're going to have $10 an hour part-time people, young kids selling booze to kids, or selling booze. I mean, that's the reality of that situation. I don't believe, and they will suggest to you in this legislation that they're going to take care of that and they will get priority, etc. That's not going to happen. And I'm not so sure that they'll have to hire anybody at Walmart or Target or wherever they're selling these things. It would do it, because you just set up an aisle, and you're not going to have to probably add additional employees to even do it. The revenue, for instance, taxes, we collect them every night. They're automatically in our coffers. Most states will tell you that the biggest scofflaws for taxes are liquor stores. We're going to have to add a whole new department in the Department of Revenue to go chase these people down to pay their taxes. Who pays for licensing, enforcement? All that money right now pays for by people who buy booze. Those issues, I think, are crucial and key. And control. I mean, it's control. This is another one of those. It's an ideology. They don't think the ideology is government should be involved in selling liquor. Well, government's involved in controlling it right now, the sale, and it should be. It ought to be. I mean, we have DUI laws. We're going to talk about transportation. So we're talking about transportation of liquor. We have those things. They do a tremendous job. Our current Liquor Control Board and their employees of controlling who buys it. There's no underage drinking, and I don't know that we have a rash of liquor store holdups. You just don't go there. So those are all concerns that I have about it. I'll see what this hearing brings about. Out of the hearings they're going to have, but the current proposal, no, I'm not for it, and I don't think that it helps solve any problems. If we can streamline, if we can work with the board and make it better and improve it, I think Senator Scarnati said improve it so that it's worth more. Maybe that's fine with me, but I think we ought to do that, and I will join with him in helping him do that.
Switching gears to transportation, significant backlog of problems with bridges, highway infrastructure. I don't have a specific question, but what solutions would you favor?
Well, we've talked about transportation for years, and this is the first time the governor has actually talked about it. His address on the budget address didn't even mention it. So we have a commission that's going to report back, and we've had some inklings into what they're going to come back with. I think they have a report out that talks about taking the cap off the wholesale price of gasoline, and that would result in a gas tax and establishing other revenue sources. What we're saying, the House Democrats are saying, we want to look at a proposal. That's a commission report that's comprehensive, that helps solve the problems that we face, both with transit and with transportation, and then we want to talk to. We have roads and bridges, hundreds that are deficient. We know that. We need to address those issues. They've been out there for years. Governor Rendell did a commission. They came back with basically the same findings. Governor Corbett has just finished it. All right, we know the report, we know the drill, and we want to look at the legislation. We want to see what they come up with, because there's no question about it that there's a tax here. Now, we need the revenues to do this. Our position is we want to make sure we're not going to, this legislation does the job that the Pennsylvanians needed to do with regards to both transit and transportation, because more and more people are turning to public transportation. Gasoline prices have gone up. They're going to stay up, and folks are looking for alternate ways to get to work. We have a transit system, particularly in western Pennsylvania. I know that even locally here in Luzerne County and Lackawanna County, that are challenged. And we need to make sure that we properly fund those with a predictable source of funding, and make sure our roads and bridges are maintained. So we're interested to see the legislation that comes out of what this commission came up with, and then we'll talk.
I think the driver in northeastern Pennsylvania says, why would I want to pay a toll on Interstate 80 to help support buses in Pittsburgh?
Well, you're going to put a toll on Interstate 80 to help us maintain 80. And the federal government now came back and said that we can't do it to just to submit to help for transit. But if you pay a toll on Route 80, and it was done as initially was proposed, that transit money would come back to Pittsburgh, and buses in Pittsburgh with buses in Lackawanna County and Luzerne County. All transit systems benefited. And I believe that that transit service is used by thousands of people in northeastern Pennsylvania, not just for western PA. Believe me, we're happy to in western Pennsylvania. We spend a lot of money on taxes and in western Pennsylvania that goes to the rest of the state. Believe me, we send money back, and we're happy to. I grew up here. We want to help northeastern Pennsylvania thrive and do better. But it's one state, and we want to work together to make sure those problems are addressed. Any money that went from that tolling for transit would go for transit agencies throughout the Commonwealth.
Anything that I didn't ask about on that topic that you want to emphasize?
Well, I think that we need to look at what this commission came back with and see what the administration proposes as the legislation, to see how they're going to implement it, and then we'll be able to talk. But we're not going to, we will support a comprehensive plan that addresses these issues in a meaningful way, and in a way that's going to make the problem better, help solve the problem, and we'll see what they come up with.
Or did you have a burning question you wanted
I
to ask?
actually did, actually. I was going to ask you.
He usually does.
With regards to, I'm a keen observer of law enforcement. My best friend was just in the last class at the State Police Academy. Pennsylvania, I think, has done a very good job compared to some other states in funding, and especially in training new troopers since the recession hit. Looking at the future, some people say there may be a little bit of a, not a crisis, but a challenge with retirements coming up and possibly not having enough to fill out the ranks, even as they are now. Can you talk a little bit about where you see challenges in funding for law enforcement, particularly for the Pennsylvania State Police, going in the next couple of years?
Well, obviously there's a funding challenge throughout government right now,
sure,
throughout the state. The governor's proposed budget, and I believe the one that he signed, increased funding for the state police in 2 or 3 new classes. So I think in the short term, the state police will be okay.
Sure.
What we need to do, and what needs to happen, is over time, and we discussed earlier on budget issues, is for the economy to pick up.
Sure.
So that over the next period of years, we're able to make sure those classes are full, and we're able to run one class every year. I think the last 2 years of the Rendell administration, there was only 1 class, or maybe not even 1 class go through. Now, Governor Corbett's plan is those classes are now being filled, and those troopers are being trained.
Sure.
So I think the short term we're fine. Just hope the economy continues to improve.
I do have one more question. And you brought up Representative Eaches before, and I'm just wondering, from your standpoint, how have things changed in Harrisburg since the bonus gate and all the different behind-the-scenes investigations and sentencings of elected officials and their staffers?
Well, I think we're much more conscious of making sure that politics, that is running for office. We're elected politicians. Politics is our business, but we can't run campaigns out of our offices that are paid for by the taxpayers in the Capitol. And I believe that that is stopped completely, and I think probably that's a good thing. So that people are much more conscious of separating those two and making sure that what's supposed to be outside the building is done outside the building. You can't take politics out of what we do, but the campaigns you can, and the campaigns are out of the building. So I think, you know, we're conscious of what our ethical obligations are. There are classes that have been instituted. Our members are required to attend as a staff, so that they're conscious and aware of their ethical obligations. And I'm not suggesting that everybody was bad before by any stretch of the imagination, because I don't believe it's true. All I'm telling you is that we're more conscious of what our obligations are, and they're explained better.
These classes began as a result of what happened? And you're confident that right now changes have taken place that has been eliminated, that kind of thought process of staffers and election first, serve the taxpayer second.
Staffers are, they haven't been denied, they won't be denied their rights. They're not going to be doing it on Commonwealth time. Anybody, if you want to work in a campaign, you want to support a candidate, that's fine. You have to do it on your own time. And those types of steps certainly have been taken and are understood by staff and members. And we take great pains to make sure they understand what those requirements are and what the rules are. And we'll continue to do that.
Thank you for your time and for having a conversation with us today.
No,
Taking
thank
all
you.
our
It's great-
questions
it's
all
great to
over
be
the
here.
board there, but
No, I appreciate it. I'll come back anytime. It's good to, it's when we make sure we keep the lines of communication open. That's all.
wonderful. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome.